So, you want to know what all the fuss is with World of Warcraft? Or perhaps you used to play before you hung up your tabard for greener pastures and are now looking to get back into the game. Well boy, do I have a video just for you. Here is the fast and easy beginner's guide to World of Warcraft. Over the last few years, you've probably heard the words Classic WoW and Retail WoW thrown around online and are wondering what it all means. Retail WoW is the version of the game that has been running since 2004 and has been getting DLC expansions and new content ever since. The game mostly relies on max level content and is focused on solo, raiding, and collection content. Most of the graphics of the game have been updated to HD, and there's also the transmog and outfit system to let you have your character look as badass as you want. The biggest communities on retail servers tend to be PvE raiders, role players, and solo cosmetic collectors. If you love overcoming a complex technical challenge with your friends, then raiding in retail is perfect for you. If you want to get immersed in a character and roleplay in a fantasy world just like in Dungeons & Dragons, then retail has the biggest roleplay communities waiting for you. You big nerd! And if you love working towards long-term goals, or you want a relaxing time running through old content just to make your character look perfect, then Retail's transmog and mount collecting is probably going to be your cup of tea. Classic WoW was released in 2019, and is as close as can be to the original version of the game from 2004. And it has released the first 2 expansions from the game's classic era, hence the name. It plays very differently from Retail. Your main time sink will be probably in the leveling journey rather than the endgame. It has slower gameplay and feels more like a D&D fantasy adventure, like an old RPG. There is no transmog and little cosmetic collection aside from mounts. The main focus of achievement and goals is upgrading your gear and getting titles. Leveling can be done solo, but it is easier if you group with other players. The biggest communities are PvE raiders, levelers, and PvPers, with a decent-sized roleplay community on the US realms. Classic is perfect if you want a more casual and mechanically simple raiding experience. Also, if you want to have a fantasy RPG adventure and progress your character slowly through the world. It's also good if you want a gear-based balanced PvP experience. Or of course, if you want to just RP in a world with more focused lore and a tighter community, then Classic WoW is where you want to go. Basic lore. Don't worry, I'm not an expert. I won't keep you long. World of Warcraft has 2 factions, the Horde and the Alliance. The Horde are bestial invaders, outcasts, and refugees who have banded together in order to survive and create a new society. The races with the most focus and lore tend to be the Orcs, the Undead, the Tauren, and the Blood Elves. But don't worry, there's plenty of dungeons with trolls in them. The Alliance is a centuries-old pact between human kingdoms that has grown to encompass much of the world, as well as several other races. This faction is your classic fantasy knights and castles, its main focus being on the humans, the night elves, and the dwarves. But the other races certainly get their time to shine. The Alliance is also the faction with gnomes. I'll leave it up to you what you do with that knowledge. Now, the world itself is called Azeroth and contains multiple continents. The original focus, however, was on just 2, Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. Kalimdor is a wild continent, inhabited in the south by the Orcs, Taurens, and Trolls, and in the north by the Night Elves. In this land, the factions are fighting over natural resources and against the wilderness. The Eastern Kingdoms, on the other hand, is an ancient and heavily settled land. The south is controlled by the humans and dwarves, and the north by the undead and the blood elves of the Horde. Here, the factions are fighting over land, heritage, and old grudges. Now, of course, there are other more nefarious, non-playable factions on these continents, but I'll let you discover them. Classes and roles. Classes in WoW are focused character types, like the classes in D&D. Subclasses are called specializations, or specs. and will be the focus of your progression as you level up. Classic allows cross-specs, but Retail does not. However, Retail has class-based talents alongside your spec progression. The classes in the game are as follows. Warriors are plate-wearing knights and barbarians that specialize in melee combat. They can damage or they can tank. Mages are your archetypal wizard class, with fire, ice, and arcane abilities. They also have many utilities that can help you with leveling. Rogues are your stealth class. They have a sort of pirate swashbuckler spec, a potion-using assassin spec, and then a sort of ninja spec. You know, they're sneaky fellas. They're the sneaky fella class. Priests are your holy healers, with a spec that allows them to get in touch with their dark side and deal damage as a fallen shadow priest. Paladins are a mix of warriors and priests, perfect for the player that wants to live the crusader fantasy. They can heal, damage, and tank. Hunters mainly focus on range combat using guns and bows, but they can also tame beasts to fight for them. And in Retail, they actually have a melee spec. That would be the Beastmaster. Shamans are totem-wielding masters of the elements. They can be healers, range damage, and melee damage. And with their utility skills, many would consider them the best support class in the game. Warlocks are dark wizards who can summon demons to their command, curse and drain the life from their enemies, or rain down hellfire on all who oppose them. Why wouldn't you play one? Druids are shapeshifters who take the form of animals to fight. They have the most specs and can be a feline stealth DPS, a bear tank, a celestial caster, or use nature to heal. Death Knights are fallen heroes, resurrected by the Lich King and later freed from his grasp. Now undead, they wield necrotic powers to DPS, summon undead, inflict plagues, and tank. Now, up until this point, we've mentioned the classic classes, but Retail actually has 3 more. They are the Monk, who uses his fists and spirit to heal, DPS, and tank, and they're extremely mobile. The Demon Hunter, who unlocks a demon form to wreak havoc upon his enemies. They can tank and DPS, and they are currently the only class who can see invisible players and double jump, which is more fun than you might think. And finally, we have the new Evoker class in Dragonflight, who is a half-dragon that uses fire breathing and flying to fight. Where to start? Now that you know the game, the world, and the classes, where do you begin? Well, in Classic, you will be put into a starting zone based on the race you chose. The experience at the start may seem linear, but at any level you'll have a plethora of zones to explore. And the game heavily rewards exploration and discovery. In Retail, all of the zones are scaled. So instead of a journey through zones of a specific level, you can quest anywhere in the world from level 1. Think of it as a sandbox with less sand. Unless you like desert zones, there's plenty of those. The leveling experience in Classic is often considered better and more focused than Retail, so you will find more players leveling in Classic. I also recommend leveling in Classic because I enjoy the challenge, but also that I'm old and I like the slower pace. But of course, it's up to you if that's the gameplay you're looking for. I've also been told that creating an idea and a backstory behind your character can help you get immersed in the world. Whether it's as simple as Orknar the Barbarian, who loves to fight and dreams of dying for the Horde, or Eldasar the Night Elf Druid, who seeks knowledge and to restore the balance of the world. Creating a story for your character can help you get invested in your journey, and believe me, it's gonna be a long one. Or you can just go and bludgeon kobolds with a hammer. Goals! Now that you know where to start, you need a destination to shoot for. It's good to have goals. While you'll certainly be forging your own path, common goals of players include becoming a raider and joining a guild, earning a PvP title or tabard, completing all the quests and getting the Lore Master title, creating a roleplay character through your journey, or exploring every corner of the map. These are just some common examples, but don't worry, I'm sure you'll find your own path as you journey across Azeroth. But if you're looking for others to join you in World of Warcraft, then I suggest joining our community Discord server to get help and to find people to play with. Well, lads, that brings us to the end of this simple guide. Until next time, good luck and take it easy.